By sitting here?
Yes.
Ooh, I feel
also,
like the
I'll
reluctant
show you more stuff
influencer.
later. Oh, good.
Here I am.
You know what? I think if we move this down like that.
I feel like I need to get one of these holders for my phone, for my mirror. I know, right? Like,
I do the same. I'm like, oh, I hope it's showing.
these are all my friends right here on my neck.
Oh, I love that.
Jennifer Meyer right here. Melinda Maria right here. And this is all my lifers. These actually are my friends. Kim had these made for us because our group that we've been together our entire life is called Lifers, and she had us all sign a piece of paper.
Oh my gosh, how cool!
And then it's all of our signatures on the back.
That is such a cute idea.
That is very
And she had a necklace made.
That's like
And
OG friends.
How long have you all been friends?
Our whole lives, literally.
Since babies. Oh,
Most of us since babies. A lot of us, like some babies, some preschool, some middle school, some high school, but like literally our entire lives. Like I don't know my life without most of them in it.
I have those too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just blessing over blessing over blessing. Yeah, really lucky.
And talk about like just women empowerment. Having a core group like that is so important to lift yourself
Especially
back up.
now.
Yes.
You know, like now more than ever, I think. I feel the most vulnerable when I push myself to do something outside of my comfort zone. So anything that could potentially bring judgment or risk or, you know, just something that I'm not necessarily like can just know I can tackle really, really well.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's very relatable.
Yeah. Totally, right?
That's perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
Today we're with a very exciting guest because this is someone that Melinda's been talking about like nonstop, and I've been so excited to meet her. So today I was kind of like in awe. I was like, wow, everything Melinda said about Allison was true.
Yeah, and it's funny because Allison and I have known each other and been in each other's orbit for a while, but we've only had so many in-person interactions. But they have been so powerful, and like you can tell, like her energy is just so good, and I have been looking forward to this for a long time, and she's been at the top of our guest list since the beginning of everything, and so to have this finally get to film it was just, this is a big deal.
Nice. You guys are really going to like this because we really, you know, for an entrepreneur, you see all the success on the outside, but then you don't hear the challenges. And that's really what we're here for. Like hearing the shit that we have to deal with. No bullshit conversation. And she was the epitome of being real. She just went down and told you about how, well, you'll see. I don't want to get into it too much.
Know.
But
Don't
she
give
was,
away too
yeah,
much.
I was like, shit, I'm telling too much.
No,
but it's
that's
that
okay.
good because you see it, probably her real life and her pictures on Instagram, and you're kind of like, oh wow, she has the best life. But
No, it's good. You can tell we're excited. Like
Yes.
you can tell we were very excited about how this went, and I mean, just sit back, enjoy. Like I feel like she has so much good advice and good life experience that she shared, and so much like raw honesty about the shit that actually goes on in people's lives that we don't always get to see or don't always get to talk about. That helps us all so much, and that's what's so cool about her.
if you can, have a little notebook out because she has a lot of good points in there that are very, very helpful, and like names that you'd probably want to remember, like the wellness place that she'll mention.
Just the amount of brands and organizations, and like she's so well connected. Like even just her stack of necklaces, I'm like, I want to look at every one of these jewelry designers, and they're all her friends because she empowers and lifts people, and so that's her network.
She's the normal icon,
which she should absolutely own. Because I feel like that is such a compliment.
It's such a compliment. It means that you're real, you know?
She is so real. And so anyways, enjoy. You can tell we're excited. We had a great time, and you'll see that in us. And we'll see you at the end.
We love you.
Bye. I'm so hyped you're here.
I'm
I'm not
so
gonna like.
excited.
She's like sick of me talking about you.
I'm
Oh
so
my God,
excited.
stop. Oh my
You're not
God, I
sick of
love
it.
No, I'm
it.
not sick of it. I'm so excited to meet you because
Oh my
she's like
God.
literally raving about you all the time. I'm like, she's like, I can't wait for you guys to meet. You guys will really vibe.
I'm really excited to be here. I'm just I'm obviously a huge cheerleader for Melinda. So
Yeah. Who
I'm
isn't?
excited.
I have to
I'm
tell
excited.
you how impactful my last interaction was with you because I haven't had the opportunity to say thank you. The Give by Gwen event for Valentine's Day in February in WeHo was the first time that one of the first times that I really started to talk about and share about the podcast because we were like starting to build it. But you're a little nervous to share before things come to fruition.
Yeah.
And I brought it up to you, and like you just sat down on that couch and you looked me straight in the eye, and you're like, "This sounds incredible. How can I help you? Like, what do you have in mind?" And I remember Carla was with us as well. Carla, our content creator at Sephora, and I talked to her afterwards, and I was like, "I've just been having such like imposter syndrome with like my ability to do this, and like my ability to build something on my own, and having you just be such a cheerleader like that and your energy was just like full on. I was like, oh yeah, I can do this.
You can.
Like it was definitely a shift in my energy, and it was very much so because of you. So I thank you.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I think we all have it.
Yeah.
So
I know.
That's why we all have to remind each other like the sky's the limit.
It's so silly. Like I managed Sephora's YouTube channel. I built Sephora's Instagram video program, and I was sitting there like, oh, I don't know if I can like do
Yeah.
a podcast. I'm like, what? And now I look back, but it's part of the journey.
And you're crushing it.
Thank you.
Killing it.
We're having
doing such a good job.
And more importantly, we're having so much fun
Yeah.
doing this.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
isn't it? I love doing them just because I feel like
So
it's
nice.
sort of therapy. In
It
a way,
is.
you
That's what we
know?
call
Like,
it.
especially when you're doing them with other women. There's nothing I love more than talking to my girlfriends or talking to other women and just finding comfort and solace and inspiration and support, and all of those things are just, when we give it to each other, it just is. It feels better and it is
Yeah.
better, and so I'm just such a big fan of that, and making sure that like we practice what we preach, you
Yeah.
know, and like I just think we live in a world where it's just different. Wait, are we starting? Did we start?
Yeah.
We're
Oh,
in.
we're in. Oh my
We
god.
just kind of like to roll
This
right
is how
into
we do.
it.
Oh,
We
okay,
like it
great.
really
So
natural.
We're in our,
Yeah.
We're in our
It's
girl
okay. Yeah,
session.
so don't
Yeah.
talk shit on
Okay.
who. No, I'm just
No.
kidding.
No, it is. I think it's really important. And I think, too, there's so many outlets now on being able to communicate, right? And being able to share and being able to provide conversation and insight and all of the different formats, whether it's through podcasting, whether
Yeah.
it's through, YouTube, whether it's
Yeah.
through your Instagram or TikTok or any of those things. And so that for me is so powerful. And being able to find those places that you can find the comfort in them. So being on podcasts and talking to other women on podcasts is like I could do it all day.
Yeah.
I really could.
That's how we feel too. It's just like we get to sit down with people that we admire or we want to learn from or both, and like just talk. Like that's why we're real big on like, if there's a few topics that people have in mind, we would love to touch on those, but we don't do any prep.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes when
Me
I'm
neither.
Yeah. And
That's
oftentimes when I'm inviting a guest, she might not know very much about them. Like our first guest today, I barely knew anything about. And it was just such an awesome conversation
Yeah.
because it's so organic. And like,
Yeah.
then the listener also gets to hear from like a point of view where there is a context of a relationship, and then someone new as well who's asking all those questions that they're probably wondering.
How'd you guys meet?
I slid into her DMs.
Yeah, you did.
I was in LA, as I mentioned. I was on a business trip here. And I feel like that moment of my life was so magical because I just got dumped and cheated on. I was in a really bad place, horrible. And then I just get to LA and I meet this amazing human being. I slid into her DMs. I have a brand. It's in Sephora in Southeast Asia.
Amazing.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. And so I met with her and we just instantly hit it off. And when we spoke about so much more than beauty.
Yeah.
And it was like,
We got deep.
We got real deep, real fast. And that's kind of like what I do. I don't like small talk. I don't like bullshit. I'm like very straight up.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
We're instant conversation. I was like,
100%.
oh, I get it. So I just felt like as soon as we met, our vibes were matching so well. Our energy was in the right space. And it actually was probably one of the reasons why I wanted to move to LA.
Oh,
Yeah.
how cool. And look at you
It's
guys
true.
now sitting on this couch.
Who would have
Creating
ever
this
imagined?
podcast, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I
Thank
love that. I
you.
love
Yeah.
girl friendships. They are, I think my mom instilled that in me in such an early age. I
Really?
was actually talking to a girlfriend yesterday, and you know, it's an interesting time. I'm finding that there's like a lot of shifts in relationships, whether they're friendships or marriages or, you know, whatever they are. And a friend of ours is going through a breakup and has been married forever and they have kids and it's complex. And she was saying something about the husband. And I was like, listen, I know it's our instinct to just always support the woman and, you know, all of it in these relationships. And yes, that is accurate. But because my mom has taught me at such an early age how important it is to invest in your female friendships and
Yeah.
put, you know, so much effort into them and stand by them no matter what. And we do that, all of our friends. I'm lucky that I have just a really grounded group of friends, but I also believe in, you know, staying neutral.
Yeah.
Right. And so I said to my girlfriend yesterday, I'm like, you got to stay neutral in this one.
Yeah.
Because you can't take a side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be us against them.
Yeah.
You know?
Or like, you know, you've had a relationship with the husband for so many years.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just going to like
Yeah.
move on.
Right.
You know, that.
Yeah.
So I just think too, that's important in friendships with women is like that you have each other to continue to remind each other of things and continue to encourage each other. And, you know, I'm a little bit older than both of you probably. I'm 44. So, it was a different time for me growing up, you know, and it, honestly, I think women now are so much more powerful even than we were back then because we have the ability to do more
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we have each other
We're getting there.
That's true.
we slowly, but
Yeah.
we're getting there. You know, I raised 3 boys.
Wow.
So I have no daughter. And I am constantly like telling them, you know, how much catch up women are having to play in everything.
You know why that's so amazing though? I've acquired 4 nephews in the last 7 years. The oldest one just turned 7 this last week. And I was like, gosh, so many boys. But I'm like, you know what? My siblings are my best friends and they're such good people. And
They
I'm
really
like,
are.
thank God you're raising men. Thank God you're raising men.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right? Because it's like, that's what's going to create a really big shift.
it is. And I say a lot to them and to, you know, when people are always like, oh, are you sad you didn't get the daughter? Or you know, did you try for the girl? And I'm like, obviously 3 times. Hello,
Yeah.
you know? Like, what do you mean?
How'd you think we got the
Yeah. Jeez. But I also think there's silver linings and I find them throughout different moments in raising them. And one of the moments that I had this like silver lining epiphany, I call it, was when I was like, this is allowing me to have a career. Because I feel like if I had a daughter, I'm the type of mom that I don't know that I would be able to separate
I can see that.
the mom guilt of not like
Interesting.
being 100% present for her. Not that I'm not for my boys, I am, but it's just different, you
Yeah.
know, when they come up on Saturday or Sunday or even after school and they're like, Dad, come play soccer with me in the backyard, or like, Dad, can you do this? Or you know, there's just certain
Different dynamic.
It's a different
Yeah.
dynamic,
Yeah.
and there's just legitimately certain things that they need as men or as boys that they need from their dad that I can't give them as a woman, you know, and so that frees up my time.
Which is great.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, here we go. We're
Yeah.
going to get back on my computer. I'm going to do a Zoom. I'm going to go to a meeting. I'm going to go on this work trip, you know, and I know that they have such a solid foundation with my husband and with their father. And I think it gives me that freedom, right? So that's one of the silver linings. And then obviously now more than ever, teaching them the importance of equality, you know?
Yeah.
I might even go overboard and tell them that women are better than men and that we do things you guys can't,
I'm not complaining.
like birth them.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. And they're like, well, technically, no, technically.
No,
I'm like, there's no technically. I'm like,
Period.
I had to grow you in my stomach, in my uterus. Like, I had to grow you in me in order for you to plant your feet on this earth.
That's still better than my mom. My mom will be like, I pushed you out of my vagina.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, mom, I get it.
But you're a girl, right?
But
If
I'm a
I
girl,
said that to a boy, they'd be like, oh, you know, they'd just like freak out. They're like, oh, don't say that word, you know?
Oh my God.
So, but I remind them of it
Yeah.
all the time. So I think that's another silver lining is like raising these boys into men to have a really, like, to respect women at the same, if not more than men. And we are capable of doing just as much, from raising a family to having a career, having, you know, friendships and all the things. So I really am trying so hard
Good for you.
to instill that
Yeah.
in them. They definitely push back,
Yeah,
you know, because
course.
they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, let me show you the black and white numbers, right?
Yes.
Like, when I do this job, here's what I get paid. When this man does this job, here's what he gets paid. You know, or even sports, right? What's happening in
my
women's
gosh.
sports is incredible. I'm just on such a high from it, you know, and they'll say to me, they'll be like, well, the reason that the WNBA doesn't make as much as the NBA is because people don't go see them play as much. And I'm like, correct.
Where's the marketing?
Exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
correct, because do you know how many years it's taken women to become professional basketball players? We didn't get that opportunity. Like,
Right.
that
Yeah.
wasn't ever talked about, you know, or professional soccer players. So I'm definitely hammering it into them in hopes that when they grow into young men, that they treat women equally.
Yeah,
if
I
not,
love that.
if not, like, bow down to them.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
You know, like, thank them. Be like, thank you for your selfless act
I love
of
that.
birthing us and then having to put up with us.
Okay, so obviously you're an extraordinary mother. We thank you for your
Yes.
service.
Yeah.
Trying,
A
I don't
boy
know.
mother, especially.
My
But-
middle son didn't brush his teeth this morning, and I was like, oh, it's basic 101. Basic. Why? Why do you want to go with stinky breath?
Yeah, like, does that
Oh, that's
feel
so
good? It's so
funny.
funny being a kid. It's like, why? Like, that can't feel good. Like, later on in the day, you're going to be bummed.
How gross it is.
Do they not care? I guess,
Boys
yeah.
are just different.
Yeah,
just-
fair.
They're just different.
Fair.
Some. I will say, my fiance is. It's probably his mom has raised him really, really, really well, because he's such a gentleman. He's OCD. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's very caring.
Dream.
Opens the door for me,
Dreamy.
sweetheart.
Dreamy.
Has his
Clean.
annoying habits, obviously.
Yeah,
like, it's not
we all
perfect.
do.
No one is, but he's a really good catch. I
Yeah.
will say, and I love how he was raised.
Yeah. I mean,
Shout out to
I
his
think
mom.
I think my boys will be that.
bet.
I think the key word is they're boys. Still.
Yeah.
They're not men. So, like, they're
Yeah.
just like,
For sure.
That's true.
yeah.
Got some time.
Yeah.
So on top of doing all of that, I would love for you to share a little bit about Blended.
Yeah.
And just what exactly your mega career is. I mean, I'm in awe of what you've
gosh,
created,
you're
and
very
your
sweet.
client roster is just spectacular.
Thank
so.
you. Thank you. Yeah, you know, if I was to rewind my life 20 years, 25 years, I don't think I could have ever painted this picture.
Yeah.
You know, I would have painted a picture, and I don't think I would have been able to paint this amazing picture that I feel really blessed for, you know. And I feel blessed for the journey getting here. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons, but you know, my background is in talent management, and I love talent management because I love to help people, right? Like it's just innate. It's in my DNA. It's
those people skills.
yeah,
You're
you
a
know,
people person.
I
for
am. I'm a
sure.
people person. I was a terrible student. Dropped out of college. I was like, this is a waste of my time. You know, I actually was a makeup artist. I don't even know
I
if you
didn't
guys
know
know
that.
this. Yeah, I worked at a salon in West Hollywood. I worked for a woman who did makeup and
Okay.
eyebrows at the salon, and she taught me how to wax eyebrows. She taught me how to do makeup. I was
That's
obsessed
amazing.
with it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. And then, you know, we have a family business, and my father asked me to come work there, which is the management business. It was supposed to be a 2-week hiatus from my makeup job, and it ended up being 17 years. So
Oh my gosh.
I know. And at the time, I would, you know, work with all this incredible talent, and we'd show up for shoots, and these incredible makeup artists and hair stylists and wardrobe stylists would show up, and they would be crushing it. And I'd be like, should I have done that? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, should I have been the one, you know, doing the makeup? But obviously, our paths are our paths. But
Yeah.
I kind of followed my gut and my instinct and my intuition and my, you know, what inspired me. And I always loved the connection of talent and brand. I saw that early on, pre-social media, that there was going to be a massive collision. And I just followed that over and over and over and over again until I had the strength to leave the family business and leave the job
That must
security.
have been hard.
It was hard.
Because I'm sure that can be really comfortable. You know, you're working with.
it was comfortable and uncomfortable, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Okay,
You
fair.
know, it was super comfortable in the sense that, you know, I loved working with my dad. Like, there's no one better to work with. He's just the most incredible mentor. He's so brilliant at his craft. And so that was the hardest part for me, I think, was that, you know, that dynamic was going to end. But I also knew that if I wanted to be taken seriously in the business, that I needed to take that leap of faith, and I needed to do this on my own and build my own credibility in the business. And,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, management was hard for me because you're 365 days a year.
Yeah.
There's no days off.
Days off.
That's hard for anyone.
It's really hard. You have to have a very specific personality to be able to do that. And I recognize that, you know, my personality can manage and handle pieces of it, but maybe not the entire pie, you know?
Yeah.
And I just followed my love and my passion for brand.
Yeah.
And that really was the impetus to start Blended. And we initially started as a influencer marketing agency. And that was it. We were very specific. It was at a time when brands didn't know what an influencer was. You know, they were like, what's an influencer? What's a blogger? What's the difference?
Yeah.
You know, and it was
Yeah.
a really
You must
pivotal.
have been intuitive.
Yeah,
to be
it was.
so ahead of
I
the-
was, and it was a very pivotal moment in, I think, marketing in general, and I actually think in beauty.
Yes.
You
Oh my
know,
gosh.
because
Yeah, definitely.
we at Blended have a very diverse portfolio of clients from a category perspective, but we do have predominantly beauty clients come to us for our expertise in beauty, and I think that is because beauty leaned into this so early on
Yeah.
and saw how critical creators were going to be and how critical content was going to be and how you can leverage it and, you know, just the importance of all of it. And it really changed the industry, right? Like, I would say even for someone like you,
Yeah.
like, it probably gave you such a path to be able to do what you love in a certain way, right?
I kind of started influencing before influencing was a thing, right?
Yeah.
I had a blog. It was called Beauty Boudoir. I was like 23, and then I started Artistry, and I was just posting. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just
Right,
posting on the
right.
go, and it was basically influencing. I'd be like, "Hey guys, check
Yeah.
this out. I'm doing this." And so, yeah, it definitely helped build my career for
Yeah.
sure, because that's how people started to recognize me, and that's how I started to get clients flying me all over.
She was like one of the OGs, especially within like the Indian community, right? And it's really funny because she's here in LA now, and it's been like a whole new experience for her. But when she flies back there, like she has like paparazzi following her. So she
India.
has like some, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like a public persona in a
You
way.
have privacy here.
I have.
privacy
Oh my
for the
gosh! When I
first
came
time.
to LA, I was like, wow, I can walk out
you.
with no makeup and no one will say anything. But it's not like being. I'm not famous. It's just within my community globally. It's like a type of Indian. So there's different types of Indians. Like I don't know. You might
Yeah,
know
my
a little
business
bit.
partner's Indian.
Oh yes, I know
Sherry.
her.
Sherry's Indian, and you know, she's so fantastic, and she's
She's
such,
lovely.
I
She's
met
the
her,
best,
yeah.
and she's part of the reason that Blended is such a success. And
love that.
I'm so grateful to her that she took a leap of faith on me. So I am familiar.
You know
yeah.
the culture.
Oh yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
You met Sherry
So
at like
I-
an AAPI event?
No, I was speaking at
of your
Voices of
panels.
Beauty.
Yeah.
I was one of the speakers with
Yeah.
Michelle Phan. And
Yeah, I love
I don't
Michelle
know,
Phan.
were you there as well?
I don't think I was there.
Okay, so I met Sherry there and I went up to her and I
Yeah.
said, hi,
Cute. Yeah.
Small
Melinda
world.
spoke about you.
Small world.
So yeah, it was
It is.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a small world. But
But-
she was one of the reasons, you know, she was at a brand called EOS at the time, and she was getting the runaround from talent buyers, you know, that she was like, oh, I just want to hire a few people to post on this platform about my brand. And they were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
No one's ever going to do that. Guys, of course. Men. And somehow and one of the buyers had reached out to me and he was like, she's not gonna figure this out. She doesn't know what she's doing. And I was like, let me call her. And he gave me her email. She actually framed the email for me one year as a gift.
Oh my gosh,
That's
cute.
so cute.
I cold emailed her and I was like, I got your email from so and so, and he says you're trying to do, you know, whatever, and I would love to talk to you to hear what you're trying to do. And she called me, and that was that. And she was like, oh, there's this new platform called Instagram, and
LOL.
Wow.
I just want to get famous people to post about EOS. And I'm like, great, who do you want? And she was like, who
Wow.
is this bitch?
I love it. I love it.
I was like, I got it, girl. And then, you know, we just kept doing really great things for EOS from that lens, you know, working with high profile talent. They weren't even bloggers. Funny enough, I was really close. I still am very close with a woman named Rena Penchensky, who is the founder and CEO of DBA, which was one of, if not the first representation company for bloggers, which I'm using, if you can't see me, I'm using my fingers in quotation.
This is a theme today.
$66.99.
Bloggers, right? And I had said to Sherry, I was like, you should call DBA and have these bloggers post. They're cheaper. They won't cost you as much as a Miley Cyrus or,
Yeah.
you know, a whoever.
Wow.
And-
So you basically started this
and
phenomenon.
and she was like, oh, okay, great. And she got in touch with them, and
Wow.
I put them in touch, and she started using some of their, you know, bloggers. And so that really was how it started.
Okay.
You know, was when I was on the management side, and I had this incredible clientele and a network that was very wide to be able to help her. So I was even getting her talent that wasn't part of my management company, just people I knew that I could facilitate deals for.
Yeah.
too.
Wow.
And that really started Blended. And we were doing it separately, right? She was doing it from the brand perspective. I was doing it from the talent perspective. I was like, well, now we just have to form our own company and do this
Yes.
together.
Have to blend it.
Yeah.
Blended.
And if you only knew how long we were like, what should we call our company?
No way,
Oh,
really?
months,
Now
months,
it feels like
months.
it's so obvious, but yeah.
She would be like, let's noodle on it. And I'm like, should we just call it noodle? And she was like, absolutely not. I'm like, okay.
I love that.
Picking out a name for anything is always like one of the hardest things, I
so
think.
hard.
Oh, I love doing that. It's my favorite thing to do.
And then to see it come to life. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, now our name just makes so much sense.
yeah.
We're obsessed with our name.
I mean, you
Yeah.
have manifest written on your neck. I
Yeah,
noticed.
this
I was
is
like,
so. This is my girlfriend, Jennifer Meyer. She has a jewelry company, and we work with her and helped her go into the lifestyle space. And so she launched a fragrance a couple years ago. It's delicious, and yeah, she has a jewelry business and fragrance and candles and all of it. I'm very into the manifesting.
I have, me too. I have a shade called Manifest, which
no
I'm like,
way.
when I saw that, I'm like, damn it, I don't have it with me. But I have Limitless on me because it's my new
so cool.
new palette that I just launched. Also a jeweler I worked with.
yeah,
but
she
really
was a
cool
bit
stuff.
ahead of the curve on like, you know, naming her shade names like positive affirmation, kind of like trying to connect to empowerment. I feel like empowerment is so much of what you and your
Definitely.
brand have been. And it was cool to see that because, now it's like a lot of brands are kind of, which I'm so happy as a mental health advocate. I'm like, great, make it mainstream.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
the first step to like people actually changing and it actually
Yeah.
being implemented. But you were ahead of the curve on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it started with empowerment because I worked with women's shelters, and that's really what stemmed my love for making people feel good. But then it moved on to just being about love. That's what I've realized. It's like when I do someone's makeup, or when I have someone, or when someone puts on their own makeup with my products, they feel the love. They
Yeah.
feel self-love. And that's what I think my brand is really gearing towards now.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
amazing. Well,
thank
and
you.
makeup makes you feel beautiful.
It does.
It
And then it makes
really
you a nicer
does.
person.
She always points this out, and I'm like, that's so true. Like people are nicer when they feel good about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Gwen will say it all the time. She'll
Yeah.
say, like, I'm not putting this on just for me to feel better. I'm also putting it on for you, that, like, that I made an effort to,
Ooh, I like
to,
that.
Yeah.
be here for you and be presentable and, all the things. So anytime now I'm, like, not in makeup and I, like, go to meet someone for dinner, I'm like, sorry.
No,
No.
See, that's the thing. Also, there's
time
like,
and a place.
yeah,
Yeah,
depending on the
totally.
vibe.
No, I agree. But
I saw you putting on her gloss. I have
Yes.
her bronzer palette on today. She like
I have her bronzer on too.
one of her SKUs is always in my regular routine, which says a lot because as a beauty director,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to try every single thing, and
Yeah.
I always have give in there.
Which
yeah,
one?
she's always
Which what?
obsessed
which
with you.
which bronzer?
I use the dual palette, so I have like the contour and
Yeah, I
then
love that one.
the bronzer as well to have
That's
a
the
little bit more.
staple in your makeup.
Right now, yep, that's been in there constantly. Also the blushes. I mean,
The blushes.
Oh,
are
I
so
need to
good.
try her blushes.
The blushes are so
Really?
good, and
Oh my
they're
gosh, I'm
under.
gonna try
People don't talk about them enough.
Okay.
I live for our blushes.
it's just like dewy.
Oh,
They
I'm
are
gonna try it.
plumping.
Is
Yeah.
it liquid or?
Yeah, we have a liquid, and then we also have a powder blush, a pack powder blush that I really love too.
Okay.
They're all really great. I mean,
I'll layer them.
yeah,
Like I'll
Yeah,
I
play
will
around
too.
and layer them
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I forget how long I have to get ready if we have to be somewhere or whatever. And I do my own makeup, like unless I'm going
Well,
to
you're a
black
makeup
tie.
artist.
I mean, I fancy myself a
You
makeup artist.
are a makeup artist. If you know how to do makeup, and if you, you're a makeup artist.
And so unless I'm going to like a black tie event, I'll do my own makeup. And I literally am also kind of a makeup junkie in a weird way.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll forget if we have to leave the house at like 7 to be somewhere at 7:30 and I don't have my phone or a watch or something near me, I will sit in front of my mirror and just play around.
It's
And my
therapy.
husband will walk in and he'll be like, "What are you doing? We have to leave in 2 minutes." And I'll be like, "Shit, I haven't done my mascara, which takes me 15. So we're going to be late." You
Oh my
know?
gosh.
And it actually happens more often than not because
Yeah.
I do just love it.
It's fun.
It
But
is
that says
fun.
a lot about you being in the right space.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like when you really authentically love something enough that you just lose yourself in it like that. No
I
wonder
do.
you're so passionate about the work that you get to do.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, listen, to go back to the agency, right? Like we have evolved over the years. And like I said, the beauty was really heavy for us from a clientele perspective early on. We were working with Revlon and we were working with, Ollie Vitamins when they launched and they came to us and they're like, "Oh, we're launching, all these great new vitamins, gummies. We're going to disrupt the space. And, we want to get all these nutrition and health experts to promote them." And we're like, "Well, hold on. You have beauty SKUs. You have hair, you have nails, you have skin, you have you have sleep, you have all these things that are connected to beauty. So you should be thinking about using people in beauty. Think of the hairstylists who are flying back and forth and
Right.
they need the sleep gummies in order to fall asleep to get up the next morning, jet
Yeah.
lag to do the job, or they need the focus ones, or they want to give their clients the hair ones or the nail, So we kind of changed the narrative on the campaign
Love
out
it.
of the gate. And I think it really set the tone for the trajectory of that brand on just their cool factor, right? Because
Yeah.
all the other and this was 7 years ago, there wasn't even as many as there are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, they were automatically going to the health expert or to the trainers or to, those people to use from a marketing perspective. And we really were like, no, lean into beauty, because
Yeah.
beauty needs this conversation, and it's a great one. And now, you know, I mean, we've been working
gosh.
with them for 8
It's a
years.
huge category
It's
for
a
Sephora now.
huge- I mean, it's massive.
Yeah.
It's a huge category for everyone.
Period. Yeah.
How many episodes have you guys done?
What number is this?
I don't even know
We've
now.
filmed. We had 7 before this shoot round, and so now we probably
11?
Yeah. Something
Lucky
like that.
number 11.
Hey,
love that.
I feel like you're an 11/11 kind of girl.
Well, you want to know when my birthday is?
Stop.
January 11th, 111.
What?
Whoa.
Wow.
I love that for you. There's
James
been
is laughing. He's like, oh my God. He's rolling his eyes.
Yeah. Anytime I go to like a, you know, energy worker, healer, or psychic, or you
Yeah,
know,
you're
any
speaking
of
our
those
lingo.
things, they're like, "When's your birthday?" And I'm always like, "January 11th." And then they're like, "Your numbers," and I'm like, "I know."
So you're in that world. I assumed so, but I wasn't sure. And I've been dabbling in and out of clairvoyance for the last couple of years. I had like a really interesting experience. I mean, I'm a mental health advocate for a reason. I had a lot of experiences, and I kind of hit a rock bottom at the beginning of the pandemic. And long story short, what came out of it was finding out that I was meant to pursue this clairvoyance. And so I went to a clairvoyance school. I started to read people on a weekly basis. I've worked with like a bunch of clients. And right now I'm kind of like taking a step back and figuring out what it means for me. You know, once you really start diving in and reading people, and they're validating you so much, but also it's so emotional for them, and it's you could mess with someone's life. I was like, this is a big responsibility, and it was all still so fresh to me. I'm like, I'm gonna take a step back and let this digest for a while. But almost every time that we're filming and I talk about my clairvoyance, it'll be 11:11 on the clock right there. Like, it's happened like 3 times now.
Yeah.
Just like by chance. And so, yeah, we're big numbers people. We're big into the healing community.
Yeah.
I think
That's why we connected, really.
Same. And I wasn't up until recently
neither.
because it was so taboo and
Yes.
people were so against it. And in a way, I think, you know, look, I think from an external perspective, people look at me and they're like, she has the most perfect life. She has the most wonderful life. What could she possibly struggle with from how all the things, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the reality is that everyone has their own,
it's all relative.
it's all relative.
Yeah.
And I went through shit as a little girl. Like,
That's where I was gonna come to.
A lot of shit. And the thing about it is that one, I wouldn't change it because it's really shaped me and it's
Same.
given me so many amazing things. Two, I have the most incredible blessed life, right? And I what am I going to do? Dwell? Like,
Yeah.
I can't. What? That's a waste of a life,
Yeah.
right? You know. But through all of the hardships as I was coming up, you know, I had to be in therapy a lot as a kid. I had to, you know, I was sent away to boarding school for my 9th and 10th grade year. So, you know, I had a lot of just heavy stuff. And I was always searching for the therapist. You know, I was like, oh, okay, let me go to this psychiatrist and let
Yeah.
me go to this psychologist and let me, you know. And to be honest, I've found my therapy through healing work and through clairvoyants who have been helpful to me and through energy healers and workers. Like, that's my therapy.
Yeah.
Sitting in a therapist's office, listen, that's what we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
Like, I could sit here all day and talk to you and you guys can say to me back, like, okay, you've got this, you can do this, and have you thought about it this way?
Yeah.
And I think it's important for everyone to find how and what and who helps them,
Yeah.
and go with that, because it's going to be different for every single
100%,
person.
yeah.
You know, what I have found for me is that, you know, the energy piece of it and understanding my energy field and understanding other people's energies fields and when they correlate and when they don't, and how to manage when they don't, and how to continue to help yourself in those moments. Like, that has been the most powerful for me. And almost a year ago, Because I have a lot of friends who are like, oh, you have to go to Hoffman and you have to go here and you have to go there. And I'm just like,
Me too. I have a lot of people telling me to do a lot of
I'm not just that
things.
person. Like, I have 3 kids and a job, and I know that it sounds like I'm just making an excuse, but like going somewhere for 7 straight days without my phone, with no contact with my family, like that actually will put me into
Yeah.
I'll need an IV of Xanax. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
You know, like
could do more harm
it
than
could do
help.
more harm than help
Yeah.
for
Fair
me. And I
enough.
know my boundaries and I know what I'm capable of, and I'm happy to push them. You
Yeah.
know, but I ended up, a girlfriend of mine told me about a workshop that I went to almost a year ago, and I'm hopeful to go back this year. They do it twice a year. It's called Well Soul. Shout out to Well Soul, to Casey and to
check it
Jackie.
out.
Okay.
I will send it to you. And it really changed so much for me.
Okay.
And Jackie is a little bit of a clairvoyant. She's an energy worker, but she helps me in so many ways. Like, I had a thing about a month ago, and I literally was like a pool. I was just a mess at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday. And I texted her and I'm like, can you please get on the phone with me? And she was like, yep, call me right now. And I spent almost 90 minutes on the
people.
phone with her. She cleared my energy.
Oh,
She
yes.
calmed me down.
Good.
She helped me just figure out the words I needed to use to communicate. And, you know, it just makes such a difference. And I think, too, what's really interesting at Well Soul, when we were there was another woman in there who felt like this connection to being a clairvoyant and, you know, a calling for it. And so she studied it, and she was just new in her career and doing it, and
Yeah.
still a little bit insecure about doing readings.
Yeah.
And a little bit insecure about doing it. And when we were in the room at Well Soul, we were like, well, how do you turn that off? You know, like, how are you not reading us right now?
Yeah.
To do the work on yourself. Right? Because that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I'm tired at the end of the day, not reading everyone else's energy in that room.
A lot of boundaries.
It
A lot
is.
of energetic boundaries.
Yeah, that's what she said. She had to put up a lot
I like
of
to
boundaries.
call it psychic hygiene.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And she had to do that. And in order to embrace why she was there
Yeah.
and embrace the program. But it really has, like, there's certain, you know, sayings now where Jackie will say to me, she'll be like, call your energy back. I'm like, yep.
Yes.
Got it. You know, or things like, we're not in judgment. Or, you know, just things that are super easy to help me, you
It's
know.
just a toolkit.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a really amazing toolkit. And,
Yeah.
you know, I've always been very intuitive, like, to a point where.
Obviously.
Yeah.
With your
Yeah.
professional
Yeah.
intuition.
And sometimes I think that's what creates a lot of my anxieties is my intuition, right?
Yeah.
Because
Interesting.
is it psychic powers? Is it intuitive
Yeah.
knowledge? Like, to your point, like, you had a calling and you felt like you had to explore it. You know, I don't see myself ever being able to do what you do in that capacity, but I do know that I have those intuitions and I can't ignore them.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know what it is for me either yet. Like, I was telling her the other day, I'm like, just taking it one step at a time right now. But what I do feel, and you touched on this, is the reason I wasn't into any of this healing space or open to it is because it was always presented to me in a way that felt too, like, woo-woo. And I think there's a lot of people out there who might not have grown up with any of this information or any of these experiences, and they were in the same boat. And so at this point, like, what I love about my clairvoyant journey, no matter what it is the fact that I get to use it to bring healers on here, to share in a way that is, like, more digestible for people so they can really understand the benefits of it without feeling like they're, like, joining a cult. Like, it was so stigmatized. And I
Well,
saw
therapy is stigmatized.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, my parents to this day are like, we don't need to go to therapy. I'm like,
I know. I mean, I'm a mental health advocate. I speak so openly about my experiences, and I still have best friends and close family members who won't even talk about it to me.
I know.
And
Really?
and there are so many moments where I am like, I see mental health and how it's being thrown into the mainstream and marketed and all of
Yeah.
this stuff. And I was like, do I even really need to be advocating for this? Like, is this just overkill? And then I get this, then the universe sends me this example where it's like, oh, someone I'm so close to that I love can't even go there. Yes, I still need to do this.
Yes.
Well, and I think no one really realized how powerful the mind is.
Yeah.
I didn't until I had, babies and a career, and I wasn't prepared. Like, I just wasn't prepared for my 10-year-old said something to me. He was in his room over the summer and he was on his iPad. Whole different podcast.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
We do talk about digital boundaries here quite a bit, but the
10-year-olds
parenting aspect
and
is,
teenagers do not
whole
have
other
digital
world.
boundaries, and it's really hard to implement them.
I can only imagine.
my
I've been
God.
following all the work that the Surgeon General has been doing around it.
No, it
Seems close to impossible.
is impossible, and my generation is the first generation to have to raise children in it.
Yeah, with
And so
no
we have
information.
no information. We have no information.
No
We're all
resources.
It
just-
scares me because
It's
I
very
love
frightening.
kids and
It
I'm
is.
really excited to have kids, but I'm really scared.
No, it's very frightening. And like, this is the first year technically at their school that they're not allowed to have their phones. They technically weren't allowed to have them the past years, but they didn't really put anything in place. Now this year, today was the first day, because today's the first day of school. They've implemented a program. They get the pouches. You have to put the phone into the pouch.
heard
They
about
lock
this.
the pouches.
Oh,
LAUSD is
wow.
doing it. New York
Yeah.
schools are doing it. So now we're starting to see some boundaries be put in place. I'm actually hosting a talk in a couple weeks with Meta about this
Amazing.
and what they're doing to implement tools for parents to help
Awesome.
them manage. But
I'm
you
so
know,
glad to hear
if
that.
Meta's
Yeah.
doing that, TikTok needs to follow suit,
Yeah.
and
Every
YouTube
platform.
Every
needs to
platform.
follow suit. TikTok and YouTube, to me, for the younger generation, are way more dangerous than Instagram and
Yeah.
Meta.
Yeah.
But what I was saying before was I walked into my youngest son's room and he had been on the iPad, and I was like, Dylan, you've got to get off the iPad. I was like, please go outside.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, Mom, I'm the parent. I'm going to stay on the iPad. And I'm like, let me tell you something. You don't want to be the parent.
Yeah.
I was like, because if you want, let me tell you what
want
it
this
is to be the
responsibility?
adult and the parent. Like, it is frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It creates so much, and I envy people who, my mom is like that. My mom is so great at just not stressing, about
Must be
the
nice.
parenting stuff. Or I'll call her and I'll be like, I think I might be dying of a disease. And she's like, of course you do. I'm like, don't you ever feel that way? She's like, no. And I'm like, how do I get like that? I want to be like
That's
that.
so weird because honestly, I was going to say from my 10 minutes of speaking to you, I felt like you were such an optimistic person and that because you always
am.
find like silver linings. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was going to ask you for advice. How do I become like that? So that's the energy you're giving off.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I am optimistic, but when you have such a beautiful full life,
Yeah,
More to lose.
more to lose.
it's true.
God, yes.
So true.
Anytime I think about having kids, because I'm still a question mark,
Yeah.
that's one of the main things that comes up to me for me. And I know it's not healthy to live life in fear, but like the more you have, the more you have to lose. And I love so hard. Like even my siblings, I'm the baby, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna have to, assuming we all die from
Yeah.
natural causes
Yeah.
in our
exactly.
old
See,
age.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go through all of their passings and like that. I have anxiety about that already.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
but I think that the pandemic just did us in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I think the amount of death that we experienced, and people didn't talk about death. People didn't talk about mourning.
Yeah.
And like now you get on the internet and it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you hear about the craziest thing. There was a family at our school. I don't know them, and my heart hurts. Over the summer, a couple weeks ago, they were on a family vacation in Wyoming, and their 16-year-old daughter's ATV brakes went out, and she went off the cliff or something. I don't know exactly what happened. And she passed away, 16 years old, a beautiful, bright, going into her junior year of high school. And it's like,
horrendous.
you hear about those tragedies, and they hit close to home, or, you hear about the sudden passing of a parent or, you know, and we didn't hear about it as much.
Yeah.
So it was like now you hear about it and you hear about it through the media. The media is covering crazy shit, you know, and then you go online and or you're
Well,
on your
it's
social media and you
clickbait
hear,
now, right?
yeah,
Sadly.
and you know, you go on social media and you see it. And so I think that has obviously instilled a lot more anxiety and a lot more fear in people because it's just
Yeah.
it's so present and it's almost like you can't escape it and you're just like, you know, I heard a friend of mine got engaged over the weekend. I'm like, oh my god, this is such great news to offset all the people I hear about who are breaking up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we need more engagements, we need more babies, you know.
Yeah.
We want to hear more of that because
Yeah.
I used to say that I wanted to start a magazine or a website that was like onlygoodnews.com.
I love that.
Oh, that's like you were ahead of it, but is it on Instagram? I think it's Good News Movement.
I'm gonna have to
Follow them.
only look at it because
I
love
love it for my
that.
algorithm because it's all
Yeah.
like
please
good-
do it.
good
I
Fully
think
support it.
But I think that's the thing is we find ourselves going in these holes
Yeah.
and reading about all of the bad things and then
Yeah.
you know you're like, wait, that can happen to me. If that can happen to that person, that can happen to me, you know?
Yes.
And that's where it starts to really mess with our brains, right?
Yeah.
Where that really starts to mess with our mental health.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is obviously the compare and contrast piece.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
very difficult.
Oh my gosh.
It's close to impossible. And like that's what I'm trying to do so much with my platform. Like I'm still a baby, you know, on Instagram and whatnot, but like Sephora allows me and lends their platform for it, and it means the world because all we see and all we share is these curated moments, and the younger generation, they don't know the difference, and they'll see a brand founder or a business professional or a beauty director or whatever it is on Instagram and be like, oh my God, like you were saying, people look at your life and they're
They
like, oh
love
my
your
God,
life, yeah.
is
Love.
amazing. And I don't think that it's everybody's responsibility to share their pain and their vulnerabilities publicly. I don't. I think that's a choice. But I think that the people who are willing to really should try and step
Yeah.
up because we need so much more of that so that these younger people can see like, oh yeah, her life's amazing, but there's still pain, there's still struggle. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I love her job, but her job isn't what is going to make her happy. It's the work that she's
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
on herself. And it's the life experiences, and it's like,
And we all have them, you know, we all
Yeah.
have the insecurities and the anxieties and the life experiences. I went through a major shift in my career in 2023 in the sense that, you know, things were happening at the agency that I was kind of like, what's going on? Maybe I need to pay more attention under the hood than I normally would. And, you know, I had a couple really tough breakups with clients that I really trusted and loved and adored and just felt, you know, really blindsided. And, you know, it was tough. And I did
hit after hit.
Yeah.
I you know, that like,
I had that
yeah,
2023.
you know,
like,
when, yeah, or like you're just like in, it's like, oh, okay, I'm just coming up out of the water and then boom,
Yep.
another wave comes.
Yep.
Like that was happening to me for months and months and months. And I called my mom and I was one day and I remember it vividly and I was just like, I give up.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I give up. And she was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. And I'm like, okay, great. I need someone to. She's like, you're going to put your big girl pants on and you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I went through so much change and I really took a lot of control of certain things. And, you know, we reorged our agency. I had to do a round of layoffs. We lost some clients, you know, but we lost some team members, you know, that in the moment didn't feel right, but looking back on it now was probably the best thing to
Blessing.
happen and a blessing in disguise. And I went through all of that and I was vulnerable through all of it. I wasn't shy to talk about it. I wasn't
Amazing.
shy Because I think that when you pretend that everything is okay, that's mostly when it's absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's also when you lose people.
It's really when you
Yes.
lose people and you're putting a front on and all these things. And I started, like, I have my own way, I think, of sharing those vulnerable moments and sharing those, you know, hardships. I will talk about them all day. Like,
Yeah.
if someone's like, can you come help me and tell me what you did in this instance? And I'll be like, yeah, here's what it looked like. Here's what my P&L looked like. Here's what I needed to do. And
Amazing.
thank God I had great advisors around me to help me get
Yeah.
to where we need to be today. You know, we're finally in such an incredible place for the agency and for my business. And I also think that two things. One is, just to go back to what I was saying, I started sharing things on my Instagram, whether it was through quotes or through, you know, certain things that reflected or that really hit me hard,
Yeah.
that I really like could feel or relate
what was going
to
on internally.
and I
Yeah.
would share those on Instagram. I would reshare posts or
Yeah.
reshare quotes or, you know, all these things. And people would reach out to me and they would be like, thank you for showing the vulnerability, or thank you for showing this,
Yes.
because the reality is like, it is not perfect. Nothing is perfect. And so the second thing that I've learned is that, you know, I'm an optimist, right? And I've always had this crazy, like, dream that everything was always going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, okay, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have these kids. I'm going to have this perfect life.
Me too.
Everything's
It's gonna
going
be easy and
Everything's going to be so
seamless.
easy. There's not, you know, No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Hell no. And not only that, even when you do have those things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and people are always like, focus on what you have and focus on the good. And that takes a lot of work,
It
right?
really does.
It really does. And then, you know, for me, it was one of those things where I have had to accept that nothing is ever going to be in perfect harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period. End of story.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not. Maybe 90% of it will, maybe sometimes 95% of it will.
Yes.
And that's great. But most of the time, you're looking at a 60-40, 50-50, no matter what you're balancing, right? Whether it's in your personal life and shit, your personal life is shit, but your work life is fantastic,
Yeah.
or vice versa, or you have multiple businesses. I have multiple businesses, you know, and I can't remember a time that they were all in harmony, perfect,
Yeah.
thriving, you know, like right now the agency is doing fantastic, but some of my other businesses are suffering, you know, and
Yeah.
last year it was the opposite. The other
Yeah.
businesses were thriving and the agency was suffering. So, you know, people don't want to talk about that. People never want to admit it.
Yeah.
And I have no problem admitting it. And I have no
I
problem.
really appreciate it.
I
Yeah.
think that's also why you're so successful. Is
Yeah.
Because people,
Possibly.
for sure.
You know, by the way, you say that to me and I'm like, I'm not successful.
Exactly. Because you are.
Right. But I don't
Because
feel
every
that.
successful person doesn't feel that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you always want more.
You just, your goals, you know, like your goalpost continues to move,
Of
and
course.
you're just like, okay, I still need to accomplish this,
course.
and now that I've accomplished this, I need to accomplish this. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's a total mind game,
Mm-hmm.
and it is mental health. Your mind is probably more powerful than any other organ in your body.
I think we have only scratched the surface, the very, very tip of what our minds are capable of.
Which
I
is
mean,
frightening.
Yeah, which is frightening. And I think, and especially with women.
Yeah. Well, you bring
So-
in the hormones and
Yeah.
all this stuff. It gets really difficult.
It's also interesting, just like with the wellness industry and, you know, all these quotes and all these amazing things that we're seeing circulating online now. I feel like it's also creating a little bit of the feeling like you're supposed to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
That kind of, I'm relating to like your business is supposed to be successful all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, realistically, happiness can't be constant. Real quote unquote happiness in life to me is contentment, is acceptance, is being able to roll with the punches and find ease and flow, even in the hard times, because there's no happiness without sadness, you know, like it is a spectrum. And I think it's really easy in a curated space, even if it's well-intentioned. And I see some of the wellness industry doing this at times where it starts to feel like, oh, if you do this, this, and this, then you should feel happy all the time.
Yeah.
And then people are doing these things, then they're like, why am I not?
Yeah.
You know,
no,
and
it's
it's
true. It is,
it's
and it's
different.
tough because there's also a lot of different opinions.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm like, who am I supposed to listen to?
I know.
Yeah.
Yourself.
And even in the healing community, like I was talking about, like the clairvoyant stuff, predictive reading is something that I struggle with. I don't know how I feel about it ethically. I don't know how I feel about it, at least for me personally, to be doing it. Mediumship is something I've always really connected to. And I've also had a lot
You
of
have
death
to go to
in my
Wellsoul.
life.
I really want to know about
I'm
Well
gonna
Soul.
send
I
you.
want to
I'm
know
gonna
more
send
about
you the
this.
You have to go.
I would love to.
Is it a
I've
2-day thing?
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, you stay at the Ojai Valley Inn.
Oh, I love. I
And-
went there for Jake's 40th.
Yeah, and they like you get a room there, and it's just.
Oh, I'm in.
It's so
Yeah, even when you said it, I was like,
you guys, this driving to Wellsoul, and it was around fall of last year, coming up on a year. I was with two of my girlfriends. That's the other thing. You could go with friends. You could not. You
Yeah.
could go with your sister. You
Oh,
could not.
amazing.
Like, it's up to you. It's not like a, you know, it's
Restricted. Or,
yeah, you know, which I think is so. That's what's so beautiful about it. But I was driving there. I was in the middle of, you know, I mean, it was November of 23, so I was still, you know, going through it and
coming out of a
lot of shifts and a lot of change, and I am not good with change. And we were driving there, my girlfriend was driving, and I just, you know, I was on calls and texts, and then my 10-year-old, at the time 9-year-old third grade son called and was like, Mom, you forgot to bring the cut up apples for the Halloween party.
Oh no.
You guys, I had prepped these apples, 100 sliced apples.
Oh, no. My God.
And I literally just lost it.
Yeah.
I just lost
The
it.
last
I can
straw.
imagine.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I was in the car driving to this workshop,
Yeah.
and I was just bawling my eyes out, and I was like, I have failed.
yeah.
Oh.
I'm like, I have failed
this.
as a mother. I have failed as a boss. I have failed.
Oh man.
I just felt like such a failure.
Pressure we put on ourselves.
And my girlfriends were like, thank God we're taking her.
I know.
Yeah. It's so good
was
that
like,
you have
you're
your
obviously-
girlfriends who
Yeah. Oh,
understand.
yeah. They're
Literally
like,
going the right direction.
How many
Yeah.
more hours until we're there?
Oh,
you know,
wow.
like we're only 90 minutes away. Hold on, you know. But it was at that moment that I was just like, oh God, you know, like I just felt that like everything I touched was
Yeah.
a mess.
Yeah.
You know, and I went into that weekend at my lowest, and I feel like I came out of it a different
Yeah.
person, you know? And listen, yeah, have I regressed? Probably, but that's why I do the work and why I'm
Yes.
consistent with Jackie and
You got to tune back in
Yeah.
every so often.
call my energy back.
Yeah.
You know, like just sit and not allow myself, you know, she gives me mantras to repeat all the time, and
Okay.
I have a note section on my phone that I'll look at in those moments and when I'm feeling like shit, and I'll look at them and I'll just repeat the mantras, you know, you
Yeah.
are worthy, the divinity within me, like, you know, all the different things that she has helped me really kind of change the way that I think about it and the way that I'm react to,
Yeah.
you know,
Your
because your
reaction
reaction
is
is everything.
Yes.
And so I'm really, and I think a lot of it also comes with age. I think a lot of it comes with just experience, you
Yeah.
know. I find that sometimes I come in contact with people in my career and they'll be like, oh, she's such a bitch. And I'll be like, when,
Why?
how, when, you know, and I always want to make sure that I'm conscious of my role
I
in
couldn't even
things.
see how you could come off that way.
Well, in my 20s, I probably was.
Okay, okay.
But like, I don't want to be held to that. Why am I held to like
Yeah,
when I was
no.
in my 20s learning and coming up in my career and having to fight because I was a woman at a time when it was a male dominated industry. And so I had to be loud and I had to be
my
aggressive.
gosh.
I feel you. I was called
And
a bitch all the time.
All the
I
time.
don't even
And
think we're human
People
until we
would
hit
come
30.
up to me
I
and be like,
know.
"Oh my God, you're actually nice." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?"
I know. And, you know, and some of the most important people in my life still are like, oh, she's difficult, or, oh, she'll
Yeah.
just, you know, dominate the conversation, or, oh, this. And I'll be like, what are you
For
talking
you, would
about?
you say that to a man?
I'm like,
Oh yeah, I
Where
was
would
gonna tell
have
you.
that?
So all those. So you know how you were saying you were driving over, you're so upset, you cried, you had your breakdown at that point, and then you went into this retreat. Everything happens for a reason,
Yeah.
and I've had a breakdown so similar to that, where I was going into. I have this entrepreneur group called Baby Bathwater. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's kind of like this global entrepreneur thing. A really funny, weird name. Very
like
weird,
it.
but it's very cool. Very solid people. And so I went in there, and just before I was going into the first session, I had a severe mental breakdown because something didn't work out. And it was like the last straw for me. Fell down on the floor. I was crying. My fiance had to pick me up off the floor, and he's like, "You got this. Just put your clothes on and let's go down. You'll be fine. Don't just wake up." And he had to remind me of my power. And
Yeah.
in that moment of your lowest, I always say it's really important to have people around you that can lift you. But also, I just looked at myself and I was like, okay, I've got to do this. But I
Yeah.
just could not pick myself up.
Yeah.
And that whole experience there, the first thing that came to me was everything in your life, everything in your mind shapes your reality. So if you think about something and you perceive it to be a certain way, it impacts your reaction, impacts everything basically.
Totally.
So I went downstairs and I completely switched my mood. I was like, what is the worst thing that could happen? I'm not going to be able to change anything right now. Went downstairs, was my normal self, and everything started to change.
Yeah.
All the positive things that I wanted to happen happened. I had a guy who was helping. He was giving us a talk on how he scaled his business and how he runs, how he operates D2C. And I don't know how to do my brand D2C. We were in Sephora, we were retailers. So I learned everything from him, and he gave me this 2-hour masterclass. Shout out to Tony Casadrinos, amazing olive oil brand. Just fully was a heart pouring entrepreneur that was like, here, I will give you all the shit that I've dealt with, and let me teach you how it's done. And I allowed myself to let that energy in. And
Yeah.
it's so important to do that.
It is. And as an entrepreneur, I think we can all relate to, like, I always love that graph of being an entrepreneur. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Where, like, it goes like this and like this and
Oh,
like this.
that's
Or,
what I
like,
always talk
what
about.
you
I'm like-
think it's going to be, and it, like,
Yeah.
starts down here and it just goes like this. And then
Up
it's
and
like what
down.
it really is. And it's like up and down and
Oh my
up and down
gosh.
and up and down. And it's so accurate. Like,
It really
there
is.
will be a week that I'll be like, we are crushing, we
Yeah.
are thriving, we have so much new business, we're, executing fantastically. And then literally the following week I can wake up on Monday and all hell will be
Same.
broken
Yeah.
loose. And I'll be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is wild. Like
Yeah.
48 hours ago, I was on cloud 9. And today
Exactly.
I am literally at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's a real mind fuck.
Yeah.
It really is.
It really
And
is.
the reason I really wanted to do this is this podcast in particular. There's so many different aspects that we tap on. But for me, it's that journey of entrepreneurship being so lonely, and me personally not having anyone around me, and realizing hearing your story right now has probably uplifted me for the next week.
Well, I think
Yeah.
everyone puts on that front that it's all good. And
Yeah.
that's just not the reality.
Yeah.
Like, it's not all good. It's hard. It's hard work. It's hard work to run your own business. It's hard work to stay, top of mind for people. It's hard work to
Exactly.
not let the competitor take you down. It's hard work
to believe,
to believe in yourself.
Yes.
Like,
Gosh.
it's all really, really, really hard work. And,
Yeah.
and women, again, like a broken record, I have to sound like we have to work 10 times harder to make way less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but then I was on a call with a client yesterday, and we were having a difficult conversation, but it's a client that I adore and I love and I really believe in, and I want to see succeed, and I believe can have such a massive business. And we were talking about, what we're scoped to do for her and what we're actually getting and what we're not, and what she feels we can do better at, and what I feel she needs to be doing more of. And it was a very back and forth dialogue. And I said to her, I'm like, look, like, if we aren't the right people to be doing for you what you need done,
Yeah.
let me help you find those people.
Yes.
And here are recommendations, and here's someone you should talk to, and here's this. And she literally was like, I am so thankful to you for even
man.
having this conversation with me, because I was like, but
I
that's
want to
what
see you succeed.
that's what
Yeah.
women need to do for
Yes.
women,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So like when women get competitive with each other, I'm just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like it. I will say it to my women friends who sometimes
I can smell it from a mile
Yeah.
away.
I'll be like, I don't want to be competitive with you.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason for us to compete
Yeah.
for the same business. There's no reason for us to be in the same RFP process. There's just not. So let's figure out how, you know, like if we're getting
I
the
love
same
this.
call, like let's just be like, let's one of us take it.
Yeah.
And figure out which one is better for, especially, you know, because I don't want to be in that arena, you
Yeah.
know. I don't want to be in a boxing match with my girlfriends. I don't want to be in a boxing match with any
Yeah,
woman.
you're too
for that.
busy.
But not only that, like, you know, I just think we need to be more kind and supportive
for
of each
sure.
other. I mean,
There's plenty
don't
of room.
get me wrong. There's a couple women that I'm just like, I don't play like that.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like I can smell
Period.
it from a mile away.
Yeah, you know, or man.
Yes.
It doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
People just sometimes do business differently than others. And I think
Yeah.
to my fault, sometimes I lead with my heart.
Yeah.
Always.
It's not your fault. It's a
you
good
know,
thing.
but is it? Maybe not.
Well, sometimes
maybe
it
not.
definitely
I think
is.
like that too. I'm like,
Maybe
is it a good thing that
maybe
I put my
people
heart
who
on
are
this?
just straight business and keep
I
the
think
heart
that.
and the emotion out of it.
Ruthless.
No.
And there's wildly successful people
Definitely.
who are like that.
I mean, ego can create one hell of a success story.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and
Yeah.
doing this
Gosh,
with us.
girl,
We talked
I-
so much. I loved it.
I will come on any day of the week, any
you.
time of
Appreciate
day.
you.
I'm so excited for you. I'm so proud of you because it's a leap of faith.
It
is.
is.
And you're so lucky to have
I am.
an amazing partner to do it
Very
with. I
much
feel like
so.
it's always scarier to do it alone.
Agreed.
You know, I feel lucky to have Sherry,
Yeah.
you know, to have taken that leap of faith with.
Well, like she was saying, it's like sometimes when you fall and you hit rock bottom, it takes having someone like that to pick you up, and it just makes it that much easier and that much smoother. And
It's more fun.
Yeah,
to
it's
have
so much
someone
more
to
fun.
do it
For
with.
sure.
You get to, you know, I love a good
build
duo.
your bond.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. And you guys are going to crush it. I mean,
Thank you.
there's a need for it. And
that's the number one piece of feedback I've received from
Yes.
anyone in the beauty industry when they listen to one of the episodes. They're like, "We've been needing this,"
Yes.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, that makes me feel so good to feel like we're actually serving a purpose for people. Like I want to help people.
well, the beauty industry is big but small. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, if you had asked me 10 years ago where I would be today, I would never have imagined. I would have been like, I am in the beauty business.
Yeah.
That would have never crossed my mind. I find that the journey that I've taken to get here is really interesting. My whole career isn't defined by the beauty business, which I'm really grateful for. That I have such a diverse, you know, thing, whatever the word I'm looking for.
Just more to experience.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
know,
that's what I get to do here is
Totally.
I don't have to talk necessarily just about product. I get
Yeah.
to dig in a little bit.
Totally.
With people.
But I love the beauty business. It's very similar to the music business, which I was born and raised in.
And my fiance is
Yeah.
in the music business, and we always find those parallels.
There are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels in
Yeah.
it. And I think that the beauty industry is big, but so small.
Yeah.
And I'm just
I
grateful
agree.
to be a very, very small part of it. And it has brought me to people like you and to build relationships with people like you and to meet people like you and Carla, who I love.
We love
and
Carla.
We love Carla. And, you know, I've just met so many incredible women, especially in the
Yeah.
beauty industry. And I think that that is something really powerful. And I'm just excited. I'm excited for this podcast to shine.
Thank you. I really appreciate you being so honest and open and
Yeah.
vulnerable. Like
It's so
people need to
refreshing.
hear this and
Yeah.
they need to feel like they have somewhere and people they can resonate with.
Yeah.
And I think that was very,
Yeah.
Kind
Everyone's
of you.
doing their best.
I love it.
So
Thank you.
where can people find you if they want?
Yes.
So
do you
people can
like
find
to?
me on my Instagram is the best place to find me. I'm Allison Statter, 2 L's and an I. And that really is my hub. Like I use it to show people and showcase, you know, my life. I don't put my kids on it a lot. I will here and there.
A little with the summer travel.
A little, yeah. I have a private Instagram account.
Oh, that's nice.
That's kind of more
Yeah.
for like family and
Yeah.
and friends, then I'm able to post a lot more private, like, you know, what my personal life is more like. When I started a public Instagram, it's funny, I started a public Instagram reluctantly.
Oh,
Everyone calls me the reluctant influencer.
Wait, that like you should coin
that's a
that.
cute name.
The
Yeah, I was
reluctant
gonna say.
very
influencer.
cute.
And then
That's a great title.
there was
actually.
an article about one of my best friends, Kim Kardashian, who I know, you know, it's not everyone knows she's my best friend. And there was an article about her that they had asked me to, you know, talk to the journalist for, and they referred to me as the normal icon. In the article, I was dying. I was like, what is a normal icon? Like, what the fuck is that? So now my brother, the normal icon, and now my brother has me saved in his phone as Allie, aka the normal icon.
I love
and
it.
when you're
Normie.
the norm, the
You're like,
normal
how do I
icon.
receive this?
Yeah. So, and I'm embracing it,
Hell
and
yeah.
I'm trying to really like find my voice and my place in it. So my Instagram is that. And, you know, I do a lot of showcasing of our work at Blended because I realized fast that if I wasn't doing that, I wasn't going to get the business.
Right.
And, you know, I have to be able to.
It's a business card at
It
this
is.
point.
It
Yeah.
is. You know, when
Yeah.
people are like, "Do you have a deck?" I'm like, "I do," and I will send it to you. It's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
our capabilities deck, and I, you know, put in a ton of case studies based on who I'm sending it to, and then I always drive people to Blended's Instagram. So it's just at Blended Strategy, and then my Instagram. You know, I'm the reluctant influencer that
I love
doesn't do
that.
like
Yeah.
paid deals, like you
Which
know,
is great.
I'm not getting hired to be like.
No, but you're
Hashtag
real
ad.
and relatable and honest and raw, and
Yeah.
you're sharing your real life. And
Yeah.
I am. I'm
That's why
trying
it's
to,
so
and
good.
I'm really trying to use that
love
platform to, you know, showcase our capabilities, my capability, who I am as a human, who I am as a mom, who I am as a business owner, who I am as a daughter, sister, friend. So that's the best place to find me, girls.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my God,
Really.
I'm excited for you both. I can't wait to hear
you.
all your episodes.
I know it was so hard not to talk, but it's like I love hearing your story, and I want to hear more of you. So we'll probably have a part 2 with you.
Great.
Yeah, we can have Sherry on as well.
Yes,
yes,
you
we'll
should.
definitely reach back out
Sherry's
to Sherry.
fantastic.
She
With
was
both
so
of you.
sweet. I loved meeting her.
She's the best.
We'll take you in the other room and film a little quick confessional moment and
Let's
some
do it.
headshots, and then we're
Great.
wrapped.
Amazing.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
She literally gave me this tank top. Next week, she's gonna be like, "Damn it, where's that tank top?
No,
I need that for an outfit."
No.
I should just give it back to you because I've literally worn it for like an episode.
it's
now.
so cute. You're gonna be obsessed with it. It's a bra. Like you don't need to wear a bra. It's the best thing ever.
know, I love
It's not even sponsored. I just love it. Yeah.
So, you know when like you hear about these stories of like a kid growing up and they have this like one life-changing experience where like a teacher just says like this one sentence to them and it's so validating and encouraging for them. I had that moment with Allison, and that's like what I was trying to tell her when we were talking. Like the moment that I was at the Gwen event, and also that just for me, like, oh
Yeah.
my God, for me to be working with Gwen Stefani.
Yeah.
Like is massive for me. And to be sitting there at her event with Allison, who I'm just like, this is such a boss, and I
Yeah.
respect her so much. And I'm telling her about my like little podcast that I'm working on, and she's like, you have to do this. Like, how can I help you?
I love
Who can I get
her.
you? And I'm like, I want you. Like, can you come on?
Yeah.
And now you see why.
Oh yeah, 100%. As soon as she walked in and her energy was just like, I keep saying this, but I feel like that's kind of the common thing with all of our guests is like their energy is what
Yes.
speaks to us. But wow, Allison is just phenomenal.
Next level.
Yeah.
And she's so humble.
She's really nice.
Like she's
Yeah.
just like so nonchalant about, and the way, you know, you're like, well, you're successful. And she's like, well, I don't really think of myself that way. And so often that the most successful people
Yeah.
don't, you know?
Don't.
But I just, this meant a lot to me. This is a guest that I've been, since the fruition of starting filming, I've been so excited to have on.
Yeah,
so
you
today
really
was,
have.
Today was a good day.
It was a good day.
It was a great day.
And like, I can't get over it. You know, when someone leaves the house, leaves the studio, leaves the house, and we're shooting, and their energy just kind of stays behind.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna rub
we
off
feel
on
warm
me
and
all day. I
fuzzy.
feel warm and fuzzy. Like,
I love that.
my favorite thing, to be very honest, was right after she put on my lipstick, and
She's like, I love this lipstick. She kept looking in the mirror. I love this lipstick.
but like,
I was
but then
like,
she, you know,
"Yay."
she's such a girlfriend
Yeah.
because this is what she did. She's like, "Can I take it?" And she put it, and I'm like, "I love you,"
Yes.
because that's normally
how
I'm
you
like,
work.
"Take it." I
Yes.
didn't even have to do that
That's how
because
we
she
work.
had that like bond already,
Yeah.
and so you know she's a very genuine person.
Oh, yeah.
just from something so small
100%.
like that.
100%.
Yeah.
And
So-
I just loved everything that she shared. And I hope
Yeah.
maybe we can have her back on or her co-founder
Yes.
on, Sherry. But Allison, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everyone out there, I know you loved this episode. I don't even have to ask if you did.
Yeah.
But let us know in the comments. And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.